Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name's Rachel and this is Stitched Up. So today, as promised, I thought I would show you my finished Papercut Patterns Sapporo coat. And here she is. It's obviously quite difficult to see. I'm just looking in my rear view camera at the minute, and yeah, because it's navy and it's quite a dull day, I've been waiting for a better day to film, but it's just not happening in the UK at the minute. Definitely not in Yorkshire anyway. But I wanted to be able to show you my finished coat. So the light's not great, I'm afraid. I've done the best I can, but I'm going to put some pictures in anyway so that you can have a look. So basically, to tell you a little bit about this pattern has been out for probably about three years now, I think, 2 or 3 years, something like that. But if you've never made a coat before and you are confident with a sewing machine, I would suggest that this is a really good one to have a go at. It's like a cocoon shape, so there's very little fitting involved, which means that to help you with the construction and the lining, etc, etc, it's a really good coat to start with if you're just not confident at starting to sew with these heavier weight fabrics. So the fabric that I chose was one out of my stash because I'm on a mission this year to use up some fabrics in my stash rather than just keep buying, and it's basically a navy wool Melton. I've made this coat before. I made a pale pink one. I think I mentioned it in my blog last week, that I made a pale pink one probably about this time last year, I think it was. I might have been a couple of months earlier. And I don't actually get a lot of wear out of it, but I do really like the shape of the coat. So I decided that I wanted to make one that was a little bit more work appropriate. Preferably I would have liked to have made a black one, however I didn't have any suitable fabric at this point in my stash, and as I said, I'm not buying any more. So I did find some of this navy Melton in my stash and decided to use this. So yeah, essentially the pattern pieces for this pattern look quite an interesting shape. The top part of the front and the bottom are in 2 separate pieces, and basically the pocket is sort of an all-in-one pocket, so it's actually not a separate pocket piece. It's attached to the top part of the pattern piece. So it does look a little bit awkward when you're first looking at the pattern pieces and wondering how they're all going to fit together. It can be quite confusing, but what I would say is that the Papercut instructions are absolutely brilliant. And if you follow them, read them carefully, follow them to a T, then you really won't go wrong. The front edge of the jacket and also the bottom edge is interfaced, and I just used some medium weight interfacing, iron-on interfacing that I'd got in my stash. It is lined, and I used this lining, which if I just take the coat off, I'll bring it closer and then you can have a little look. So basically this lining is a powder touch chiffon fabric that I bought from the textile centre. They do still have this in stock, so I will link to it down below if you're interested in it. But although it's described as a chiffon, if I just try and pull it away from the coat, it's not actually what I would call a chiffon, and I think the textile centre do describe it more as a dress fabric rather than it just being a very lightweight chiffon. It is very soft. It's obviously quite polyestery, but it's also quite slippery, so it's great for linings. You could wear it for a loose fit blouse, I guess, if you wanted to make that kind of thing out of it, but it was really cheap. I think it was about £2.99 a metre, something like that. It's got a little bit of give in it. I wouldn't say it's not a stretch fabric by any means, but it's got some give in it, which is perfect for a lining. And yeah, I thought it went really well with this Melton wool. So if I just hold it up a little bit closer, you might be able to see the shape of the front pockets there. There you go. So so the front pockets they're not too deep, they're quite shallow. But the back of the coat, as you can see, is it's almost like a princess line. I don't know if that's going to show up very well, but if I just bring that in for you to have a look, you can see there's no separate neckband. The lines go straight up to the top of the of the neck. There are no fastenings on this coat at all, so again you don't have to worry about putting buttonholes in this heavyweight fabric. The sleeves it's obviously a really heavy drop sleeve. I've got a little bit of puckering there as I've tried to fit that in, and the sleeves are interesting because they're sort of like a big crescent shape, I guess, that you stitch together and turn the right way out. The inside of the sleeves are understitched. I don't know, if I just move out of the way you might be able to focus on that a little bit. You can just see the understitching there. So and with lots of pressing it tended to fit quite well. I'm just going to turn the coat inside out so that I can show you a little bit more of the construction inside. So from the front, the lining is attached all the way to the facing of the coat and to the sleeves inside, just there. Now if you notice, my sleeves are inside are two different colour fabrics, and that's because this coat I think takes about 2.5 meters of fabric, and I didn't quite have enough. I think I had 2 meters of the navy, but I did have some of the charcoal fabric in my stash as well. This is a melt, and I think I had 1 meter of this just randomly in my stash. So I decided that the inside of the sleeve I would patch, basically. I would use what I had left of the Melton as the sort of direct underside of the sleeve, and then the charcoal further up, so that you couldn't see it, but at least it would work, and that allowed me to get away with just 2 meters. Now I made the size small to medium, I think it is. And what I would say is that it is very generously sized. Now with it being a cocoon shape, obviously it's supposed to be a loose fit anyway, but it is very, very generous fit. And I didn't make any alterations to this whatsoever. Now when I made this the first time around, I usually obviously lengthen everything, and I did consider lengthening this pattern. However, I wasn't sure because of the shape of the pattern pieces how to lengthen it. This time around I think I could lengthen it, because I think what I would do is I would lengthen the top piece of the front and the back, not the bottom piece, just the top, probably by 1 inch or so. And I think I'd like to do that if I made this coat again, mainly because when I put my hands in my pockets my elbows are quite bent, if that makes sense. I do like putting my hands in the pockets, but I think it just needs to be just a touch longer. The bottom of the coat, you have these lovely mitered corners. I don't know if that's going to show up very well there, but it's really quite ingenious how it's fit together, and they look really, really nice and neat. Yeah, both sides there. So it's lovely because the pattern pieces for the lining are different to the main pattern pieces for the coat, so it means that you don't end up with the bagginess of the lining showing on the outside when you're wearing the coat. So that works really, really well. So yeah, really, really happy with it. As I say, I've worn it all week. I've just completed my first week in my new job, and it's been really good. Learning loads, but yeah, really, really good. So this was just fantastic to wear. I feel quite smart in it, but as you'll see from the pictures that I've put in on this review, you can also wear it really casually as well. So I really quite like that versatility of this coat. I think it's great for, it would be great for days like today where it's quite windy but quite mild. I think obviously really, really cold days you're going to want something, because these sleeves are obviously 3/4 length rather than full length. I think you're going to want something that's more full length, where you can really snuggle down into. But you know, it's a great pattern for sort of autumn, springtime, and I would highly, highly recommend it. Last thing I wanted to show you was obviously I put my little labels in there. So so that's great to be able to hang my coat up with. So yeah, so that's my Sapporo coat. So that's it really from me today. I hope you've enjoyed having a little look at my new coat that I made last weekend. plans for the rest of the month, I'm going to sit down this afternoon, I think, and have a little think about what I want to make for the rest of January. I've got a few ideas buzzing around in my head, but I just want to make some more firm plans too. So I think that's probably going to be my next video. So watch out for that soon. So whatever you're doing, I hope you enjoy the rest of your weekend, and I will speak to you again really soon. Bye bye.